For those of you who are unfamiliar with the word cover crop means essentially, or green manure, the idea is that you plant some things in the late fall that will help your soil over the winter. And what it does is it adds nutrients to your soil. It holds your soil together so your soil doesn't erode. It has biomass, which means that underground the root structures will keep feeding a bunch of microorganisms, so it will keep your microorganisms really healthy over the winter, so that when spring comes, they're still there. So basically, it really helps add to the life of the soil. And so the way it works for a lot of people is if you have frost, then basically what you want to do for best practices, plant at least 30 days before the first frost. So it can work with less and it can work with more, but you want your plants to be have a little bit of greenery above ground so that the soil doesn't erode and you have some of that biomass underground. And so basically, at least 30 days before first frost. If you can plant it earlier, that's fine, but you don't have to. And then basically, when you're planting, for best practices, if you really want it to kind of cover the area, you need about 1 ounce per 50 square feet or 5 square meters, all right? And you want to sprinkle it, broadcast it so that you can see the seed on top of the soil. So Crimson Clover is one of my favorites. It's so easy. It's a legume, which means it's a nitrogen fixer, which means that when you mulch this in the spring, you basically just chop it and drop it in place in the spring and you get a nice mulch. It's beautiful. The flowers are great for tea. The flowers can be used, I believe, I've been told that it can help with diabetes, regulating blood sugar, and also it's also great for lymphatic. I used to take it because people told me that it helped get through fluoride, if you're sensitive to fluoride, to drink a lot of Crimson Clover tea. So Crimson Clover is a really great legume to grow over the course of the winter. Winter rye is another plant that's really great. And then hairy vetch. Those are sort of my 3 favorites for over the winter. They will continue to grow in the spring. So basically what will happen is they will get to this sort of like colorful, tall version of themselves. And when they start to flower, you want to cut them down and you use either a scissors or machete or a scythe or a gas-powered trimmer if you want. And you chop it down, mow it all the way down to the ground, like shave it down to the soil line. And then you can even cut it into 6-inch lengths in order for it to degrade faster. And then basically you let it sit for a couple of weeks, because if you try to plant right away, these plants are still very much alive and they're still energetically working in the soil, and so you want a couple weeks for them to start to biodegrade. And you can also put your compost right over the top of those cover crops to help them break down faster. So this is seaweed mulch that's been added to the top of those cover crops after you cut it down.